Good evening, everyone. Welcome to EduTALK. This week on EduTALK, we are tackling some problems or topics that are very relevant to our going back to school. And Dr. Barker and myself here with you again, your favorite people of the week, every week. Good evening, Dr. Barker. How are you doing?
Even Dr. Dice, how are you doing?
I am fine, thank you. Yes, it's very good to share the platform with you as usual. And we're dealing with issues in the news, basically, issues in the news and also issues that school leaders and teachers, educators on a whole should consider as they step back out into the schoolyard, opening those doors. Maybe they're very reluctant to probably pull out those cabinets because they have ungraded papers in there from last year that they want to throw out
Yeah.
and consider things that are relevant for this year. So, some of the things that we'll talk about looking at how do we tackle mental health or deal with it in the school, and looking at socio-emotional activities that you can do among your teachers and staff to help them and keep them motivated throughout the school year. Remember, it's a new era where social and emotional status in people, we need to start looking at that and taking care of people's health, mental health. We talk about mental health day if you want a mental health day, but what aspects of the school do we look into organizing so that you might have a mental health space for staff and for faculty?
Yeah.
Also, the results coming out of Jamaica with regard to CXC or even external examination on a whole that are very concerning that people can actually take a look at and see what measures they can put in place to combat the performance level of students, the low performing level of students. What exactly are we doing, and where are these disparities that we can tackle as a school system? Right, Barker?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
real.
back to school is always a good time. Um,
Yeah.
Parents get the kids back into school. Teachers ready, back into the cycle of what they're called to do. So always exciting time. It's always a great time for schools to be. And it's whether people are, one of the things the break is supposed to do is to get people, inspired,
Mm-hmm.
rested, relaxed, rejuvenated, recharged, you know. But
Yeah.
most times, holidays are maybe some of the most hectic time for teachers.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not coming back rested, they're coming back tired because that's when you plan your holidays. That's when you try to get all the things that you wanted to get done. So, yeah,
That's
already are.
that's very, very true. The people try to fit in a few hours more sleep the night before school or so because they they say, hey, I wasted the summer.
Yeah.
I didn't take care of anything at all. Well, some people just chill and chill to no end. And the chilling cause tiredness. Barga, let's start quickly because it's a short show. Some things we consider to be the mental health aspect of school is a
Yeah.
serious thing because I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and he was telling me that some principals, they pulled one out on a stretcher going to the ambulance, and when he looked at it, he said, oh my God, my friend, he, because of the stress of the job, and he wasn't putting his mental health at the forefront of his status, then they're taking him out on a stretcher. He's
Wow.
not dead or anything, he's just stressed out. And then the other one, 2 years in the job since he got it, and the guy has aged so much, you know. So what exactly, being an administrator yourself, what are you doing to keep young, and healthy? Because I'm thinking, oh my God, this
I
you
feel
cannot.
old, but you know, mental health is an important thing, and it's important that the people that you work with believe that you understand that this is important. So I think that's something that, we all grew up with bad leaders, and sometimes we see them and we remember them only from the position, but we forget how we felt. So we'll talk about a principal who was harsh, we laugh about it.
Yeah.
We think it's, that's power being manifested. We talk about workplace leaders who were, if you step back and look at it, they were bullies, show lack of regard for people's needs beyond financial and more to their mental.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, so it's when we get into the leadership role, it's easy to believe that leadership looks like that, right? Because that's what you
Yeah.
have seen. I've come to realize that that maybe is my most important job.
Yeah.
When I am called to be an administrator, my fundamental responsibility is the mental well-being of the people in my team, fundamentally.
Yeah.
And if I can establish an environment where people believe that their well-being is of a priority to me beyond everything else, my philosophy is that that's going to be a more productive workplace as
Yeah.
long as people I'm trying to work with are professional. So if I begin from the basis that
Yes.
they're and professionals just need a nurturing environment for them to flourish within, then the way I think of it as a logic would be focus on their well-being. Because if their well-being or the perception of their well-being, perception that the environment they work or their well-being as a high priority,
Mm-hmm.
then it's likely to produce better outcomes in terms of what actions they take, their feelings of belonging to the
Yeah.
organization, and that leads to, in every research, that leads to better output because now
Yeah.
we're talking about the 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 satisfiers, as Herzberg would put it, compared to the hygiene factors. So rather than the motivating, the hygiene factors. So that simply means that people are more inclined, there are more intrinsic things happening than
Yeah.
extrinsic.
Yes, yes. Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. I remember a book that you referred to here that if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students.
It's a good
And
time to talk about that book, Feed the Teachers,
yeah,
or
if feed the
Feed the
teachers or
Teachers.
they eat.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact phrasing, but
Yeah.
it's a
I would it's very
powerful piece.
powerful. Yeah, yeah, powerful piece to start the school year with. So that's mental health that they need to consider. And then providing a space in the school community that people can go off to relax a little bit when they're stressed out, or feeling as if they're getting to that point where they need to take a break. Um, I normally endorse the fact that if you create a community in a way that people check in on each other. So you have your check-in buddies among staff and faculty that when things are going south, you can say, hey, can you drop in here and
Yeah,
take care of this and let me just take, I need a little bit of a break. I need a cup of coffee. I need some tea. I just need to breathe a little bit, let me go out and walk around the school for a little bit and to clear my head about something. I really feel like that really helps an individual to cope too. And then create a space where you don't have a ton of unwanted meetings, where you sit in a meeting and discuss everything and you're wondering, did we really have to have a meeting for that? Like it's the same strategy that you shared in the network a couple months or even last year or the year before, where you say some things don't have to be a meeting. It can be an email, and decide what you meet for so that it's not going to pull people away from the needed work that they're doing, cause them
yeah,
more stress. Provide some level of decency around the meeting and order and structure so that people know what is important, what is not so important, what is immediate or urgent, and what is not so immediate and urgent so that they don't stress
yeah,
themselves
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so
Having,
that's mental health. Barkad,
yeah,
go on to it's SEL, because SEL actually close to this with socio-emotional tendencies
Yeah.
around this. And in that, it doesn't have to do with the teachers only too, it has to do with the students, how they're looking into students' lives and their backgrounds coming into the school, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The 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 tendency of us saying that a student is just giving trouble, you know? At the beginning of the year, we look at as students and you know what I some of the things I look at when we're having students matriculating from one grade level to the next, one teacher will tell the other one that is going to receive the student saying, oh boy, you really need to look out for little, because I had some serious problems with him last year.
Yep, yep, yep. And the kid doesn't get a fresh start.
Not a fresh start. And it's the same thing with faculty members too. Like, oh, I had a rough time with so and so last year. You know, maybe this year he or she is gonna come and it's gonna empty out her or his problems on us too. Not knowing that the people might be having some serious issues, might have had serious issues last year, and they might not have the same issues this year. So give them a fresh start as well. You know,
Yeah.
do you experience some of those and some strategies that we can use
I
or implement
suppose I
off the cuff?
suppose I could speak a little bit about that from my perspective of this. I've really struggled to find these meetings useful. Those ones
Yeah.
where, teachers are sharing, as you said, kids to look out for. I found them unhelpful because, especially in middle school, where kids are still learning behaviors and still developing personality. And the difference between a child who's 10 and a child who's 12 is so vast that
Mhm.
the worst thing you can do is create an inescapable personality for them. Like that's how they are.
Yeah.
So I've always found it difficult. I've always found those meetings unhelpful in the sense that I don't know what we leave with because that information, I think, undermines the new relationship. So it damages it before it starts, because those meetings are never a meeting where people are being positive about kids. In fact, those meetings they will go. If you have a list of all the kids, what will happen is John Brown is good, carry on. So no
Yeah.
time is spent talking about how John Brown learns
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
what John Brown's bring to the class, what leadership ability, how does John Brown collaborate. No, because that's not important in that meeting. So John is good, don't worry about him, carry on. Mary Jane, very good, carry on. And then you get to like you know, Jane Doe, and then they go, you need to watch out for Jane Doe.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, Jane Doe will tell you a lie, or the parents are not very good to her. So all of a sudden, we've spent a meeting, should be on positive, but we spend, I'd say, 70% of the time discussing negative things. Now, what is missing from all of this, in my view, is that teachers and students have individual relationships.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
kid will be bad in your class and perfect in another class. This
Right.
is a reality that teachers have to get to.
Mm-hmm.
A kid can be really bad in your class, and when you go and see that kid in another teacher's class, or put it this way, I can see kids who are struggling in one class, but they go to another class, perfect, no problems.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Personalities. Teachers have figured out how to manage them and found ways to make them feel belonged in the classroom. So they are now invested in that classroom. What can damage that relationship is I told you that this kid is bad. No.
Yeah.
Now you're teaching that kid. That kid is now being judged based. So that kid is now in a position that they now need to prove to you that a colleague who you trust has made a bad assessment of you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very hard to change.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the child is doing well, you might expect one day to be, and then one day the child might do something and you go, yes, see, didn't fool me. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
found those meetings not as useful. And in the times where I have been in charge, I've resisted having them for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. I usually tell teachers, don't tell me anything about the child. Let me discover it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I
yeah,
found them meaningless, but
yeah, yeah,
there are people who like them, and there are
yeah,
people who think. But
mm,
for me, I think we can still discuss uh, students in terms of their needs, whether
yes,
they have language needs, whether they
yeah,
have learning support needs.
yes,
Um, I believe it is up to an individual teacher to go, I have this kid in my class, this kid is struggling, I
yeah,
don't know how to get through, talk to their colleagues individually and say, hey, what's working for you?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And, or, oh, last year this person was teaching them, I didn't hear them complain. What did you do?
mm-hmm,
This is the essence of a true community.
mm-hmm.
You know, trying to get that to happen in a more like administrative way means who do you meet with, right?
Yeah,
Who do you
yeah,
meet? Is it the whole year group of teachers? Then you're gonna hear about half of the kids you don't even teach this year. So what's the point of that? That's time wasted. So
yeah, true.
yeah, so I believe in a fresh start for students. That's a philosophy. I think students should go in, teachers should begin with the knowledge they have, not negative knowledge. If a child had like behavioral issues that are recorded on the system, we
Mm-hmm.
don't need a meeting for that because you can see that yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What
true,
I
true.
don't want is the anecdotal negative experiences passed on, and then teachers begin with that, but have a different personality. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
I
no
understand
context.
around that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
any
I've
context.
resisted it as much as I can. But
Yeah.
people like those
So,
meetings.
the other thing that to consider in the start of the year is the performance. And last year, as you shared with me, the external exam results, to be frank, they're horrible. It's horrible. And we can't blame students per se, but what exactly are they regurgitating coming from the schools and our society, the type of educational society and the thinking that we create in these students cause the performance to be like that. So,
Possible, possible. I
brother,
mean,
talk around it because you have the
a
information.
little bit. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, so first of all, without knowing what the targets of the ministry are, it's hard to compare if they're,
yeah.
they're working with the students and the teachers and know what's possible. At least they have an understanding of what should be possible. But so from what I can see, um, we have a lot of students who are registered but didn't take the exam. So about 5% of kids did not take the exams, which is a big
And this
question.
is
What
hold on. This is the CXC,
CSEC?
which is the Caribbean
Yeah,
external
the
examination.
CSEC, right? The CSEC exam that's run by CXC. Because remember that CSEC is the exam, CXC is the body, right?
Hmm.
The Caribbean Examination Council runs it, but CSEC is the exam that's run, Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate. I think that's what it stands for,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, that's what it stands for, actually. Yeah. Now, the issue that we face on this is that, first of all, we do have 5%, that's 1 in 20, who didn't take the exam. That's left school, quite likely left school, right? So that's a gap there already of kids
It's a
who
massive gap.
that's a lot of students who didn't take the
Yeah.
exam. That's something that needs to be figured out. What's happening to those kids? Have they taken an alternate qualification? Have they returned back into the school system? Those questions aren't immediately answered from the release from the government. The
And
second,
this is Barker. This
yeah,
is the 5%. Is this the entire, is this
yeah.
math and reading
No,
or the
no, this
entire?
is just there were 33,235 students from public school who were registered to sit the exam, of
Okay.
which 31,600 did it. Yeah.
Oh,
Talking
wow.
about 1,600 here,
Yeah.
which means that those kids didn't take the exam. They didn't turn up for the exam. We're not talking doing one or two. It didn't seem to that's what I would read from the data,
Right.
right? But so that's we have 1,500 students who maybe leave school, didn't do the exam. That data, as I said, needs a little bit more um, distinguishing, someone getting into that to say, what is the nature of that data? Which kids are they? Are they teenage pregnancy related? Are they violence related? Are they coming from certain communities? Are they students who are returning to school? You know what I mean? But have not bothered taking the exam. They weren't ready. Are they kids who were registered, but in the end didn't feel ready and just didn't turn up? We don't know. That's what we don't know. What is factual is that nearly 5% did not take the exam that were school age to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And we also know that registering for the exam doesn't mean that that's all of the students that are in the system.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's the one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah,
The big data points, English, it seems to be 3 or 4 students passing English, getting an English qualification. Yeah. So the result seems like it fell, but not enough to be of significance by
yeah,
point some percentage from
right.
last year or the years before. But one in 3 and 4 is maybe not a bad result. It could
Right,
be 1%, but it's not a
right,
result that I would spend time thinking something is wrong, right?
right, right, right.
In the UK, that's going to be about where the UK is for English results anyway,
Mm-hmm.
right? Somewhere near that, or at least that might be an aspirational goal for the national figure that
Yeah,
3 4 leaves with English. Where the numbers are of concern is in maths. So in maths, it was 37.3. That's 2022. And they have deliberately not used 2023, I think because of the effect of COVID and so on, right?
yeah.
So in maths, maybe they didn't take exams. I'm not sure what happened there. But 38.9 for 2024, which is an increase of
Mm-hmm.
1.6. But ultimately, that means 1 in 3 pass in maths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1 in 3 of students pass maths. And I saw a figure. I'm not able to immediately verify that figure. But
Yeah,
in terms of students that pass both math and English, that was 18%, which simply means that in pretty much any movement forward, math and English represents the base qualification for all movement. Yeah.
yes,
You
yes.
can have math, English, and anything else, and you pretty much will be in a good space to move
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Without maths or English, you're now having a lopsided qualification. So if it's 18%, we're talking just about 20% roughly, 1 in 5 of the students
Yeah,
who go through our education system leave with the final qualification of both mathematics and English passed at a basic level, because we don't know even if, what is the skewness of that. Is it everybody getting, like a 3,
yeah.
or is it skewed in
In
any way?
terms of
Or
the level,
in any way, just leveled
yeah,
off, right? We
level,
don't
yeah,
know that. So we don't know if a lot of people just even with barely passing, or they're all doing well, or it seems to match a curve, a
yeah,
normal terms of
yeah,
how it's distributed. But what we do know is that it's certainly um it's positively skewed, meaning we have a lot of lower results. Yeah. So it means that we have 4 out of 5 students leaving without base level qualification. So while there's an increase, that increase of 1.6 over 37 would be a very small increase. It's not even a
yeah,
1% increase, if you get what I mean.
yes, yes.
That's an increase on what was there last year. So
Mm-hmm.
1.6 in terms of a nominal increase, but the real increase would be 1.6 over 30 something, which, very, very small. It would
But
be,
but that's just the increase of the number of students who actually taking the exam. Is that the number of students taking the exam or the number of
no, no,
students
this is average. This is average.
which pass?
So in reality, any results of like 1.6% nominally is
Mm,
maybe a 0.05%, a 5% increase in terms of overall, not anything to shout
mm.
at.
So that's
So
something that they should consider moving into the new year to see how best they can remedy these situations and actually tackle the idea of the students who failed to see how
well,
they can
I worked in the
matriculate.
UK, and this was an issue in the UK back in 2008 when I was a head of math. The government introduced an arbitrary, at the time, we felt it was an arbitrary baseline,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is every school must produce a minimum of math and English passes to be 25% or higher.
Yeah.
So they said, enough of this math English thing happening. We need more people passing math and English. So schools were then tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that graduates, 1 in 4, minimum maths and English in all schools, no matter what conditions you were working under. Minimum. For some school, that was easy because there are good kids and all of that. But
Yeah.
tough schools, it was a challenge because no, but what it meant was that if your students were good at math, you now need to think about how do you get their English up? Or if
Right.
you're good at English, what interventions do you need to put in place to get their math up? Because all of those kids were premium kids, right? Obviously, you have some kids who weren't good in either. But if a child was good in math, or a child might be borderline in both. The point is, what is missing from the discussion here is we don't know what the targets were. And
Yeah.
I don't know if schools know what the targets were. The targets can't be everybody pass, can't be 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Targets can't be, we do the best and this is what we got.
Mm-hmm.
The target has to be clear measures that are not linked to teachers,
Yeah.
but linked to government performance. So a government should be saying, our goal is to get 30% of students passing math and English. Our goal is to get math results to be 50%. Our
Yeah.
goal is English to be 80%. And let that match, that goal is matched by the financial and the logistical support to make it happen. That's how
Mm.
this happens. Without
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
level of responsibility and accountability at the top end,
Yeah.
everybody will be teachers. The
And
government
realistic.
set a target and then put the resources in to make the targets, make sure it can be met. So
Yeah.
that's this. I leave it there. That's my little rant.
Yeah, before we leave the talk about the because you mentioned a professor in Jamaica says that they should focus on math and English at the
Yeah,
pri
I'm trying to find the article. I'm going to be honest. I cannot find it. It
No,
was
it's
on.
okay. It's okay. But what about if they're focusing on math and English at the primary level growing up, then wouldn't that become an unbalance in the system where the other areas concerned? Are they
I'll
just
find the article. Don't worry. I'll find it.
yeah.
I searched for it differently. So it's in the Gleaner.
Okay.
So, and here's another headline: 6,000 students fail to pass a single subject. We're letting loose a lot of people that can become serious issues.
Yeah, in the system, in a society that really need to maintain this high level of performance and you're looking at technological development, advancement, because a lot of things happening in Jamaica, and we're using Jamaica as one of the leaders in the English speaking Caribbean, the largest English speaking island in the Caribbean, and a leader as such, where other islands really look up to Jamaica to set some examples. And if they're trying to create world leaders, basically, then they need to start from the education system. It needs to be we need to start looking at what exactly we are pumping into students and the system to get them to compete with the best around the world. And it cannot be like this with the present situation that they are finding themselves in. And we know that the education of students, it doesn't, it's not a like a plateaued performance level. Sometimes you get more students who are passing subjects. The number of students increase from
Yeah,
year, and then sometimes you have a decrease in some years. But it shouldn't be that low, Barker. This
yeah.
is it's not, it's
No,
very
I mean,
unacceptable.
what is missing is there's a political agreement amongst both of the major parties not to have an accountability measure in education. So everyone is happy to talk and say the result is bad. Everyone's happy to talk and say the result is good. But what you don't have is a strategic look at it that says, where should Jamaica be in a year's time? Where should it be in 5 years' time? So what does that mean for me? Meaning, as a government, we believe that mathematics, for example, or the number of students passing maths and English, it's important that we have that number higher because long term, the more graduates we have that have math and English leaving high school, yep, the
Yeah.
likelihood that they would have 5 subjects as well. That's the first thing. There's a logic to it.
Yeah.
They will have 5 subjects as well, which is normally the gateway to most things. But without maths and English present in that 5, the child has a disadvantage. One, they're having uneven development. The numeracy and literacy are being questioned on either side.
Yeah.
So you have to have a goal of saying, as a country, our goal is to get that to 30%. It's not the win, but we
No.
set a goal that is near enough within just inside or just outside the comfort zone of performance of a school. So we're going to challenge the schools to get to 30%, that we see what they can do. But equally, what are the resources that are going to be placed available to get that started? Because you can't just say, get it to 30%, you're a bad teacher or a bad school. You're going to have a program that supports that says either you either put more resources in, put more training in, whether you are, changing the way that you're asking people to teach, providing more collaborative pieces where maybe experts can come in and work with teachers. Maybe with the power of the internet, you could have maybe one person teaching maths to 25 schools.
Yeah.
In that, you could establish a Ministry of Education Mathematics TV, and you have teachers teaching lessons, and kids just watch it and submit their work, and a group of people marking it and providing feedback. A national tutoring scheme. I don't know. The point is, you have to put things in place. So you have set that up. But what is missing from the discourse is simply that does not happen. Nobody said, for example, this result has come and the government has failed to meet its target. No one, because there's no target set.
Man.
What people do is just go, oh, the results could have been higher. But there's nothing to say to the government to say, but you said you're going to make it 40, but it's 38. And you said you're going to get math and English up to 25, but it's 18. What are you going to do to get it to there? No, that doesn't mean the government is not discussing this amongst themselves, but that has to be a public accountability measure. And that's really what's missing. That public accountability, that the government knows that they are also going to be held accountable for low results, not teachers. Right now, when the government speaks, it sounds like the teachers have done a bad job.
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, very different schools. Yeah.
Yeah, and some schools have good results, some are bad. But the government has responsibility for a national educational strategy. And that has to be, it cannot be that the national educational strategy means that 6,000 students didn't pass a subject. It cannot mean that 2,000 of the students who were registered didn't take the exam. It cannot be that 1 in 5 pass with maths and English. It cannot be that 1 in 3 pass maths only. So there must be some that they say, in the first 2 years, we're going to keep it at 30. Then in the next follow-up year, we want to move it to 40, and so on and so on and so forth. And in 10 years' time, we want math and English. We want maybe 35% of the country always passing maths and English. Now, 18 to 35 might seem like not a big jump, but it's massive. To get a country from 18% to 35% and sustain that for eternity is a big, massive investment in education. And shifting how we do things. And I think that's where the discourse is lacking that level of accountability.
If it's not happening at the national level, Barker, it should happen at the school level. Because these principals need to have the discussion among their teachers and what they're doing with math and English PDs, what they're doing with those PDs, the professional development of teachers, to see if they can raise the level of student performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work. As I said, I faced that in the UK. What they're describing in Jamaica now was what used to be the case in Jamaica. So this is not, UK is a country that has been established from whenever. Jamaica is only 60 plus years of independence. So the problem isn't one that Jamaica shouldn't have. When I came to UK in 2002, that was what was in the system. I have seen the government move from just focusing on results to realizing that the quality of the subjects that they take was important.
Yeah.
Right now, they have something called the EBAC. Maybe Jamaica need a JBAC, which is literally they have to pass maths, English, a foreign language, a science subject, and an art subject like
Yeah.
geography or history.
That's
And
good.
that is considered to be the basic kind of outcome for, let's say, CSEC.
Mm-hmm.
You see here. And that means the child has a rounded education. You can have 8 or 9, but it must include 5.
5, yeah, yeah.
And so it forces the school to offer as foreign language. It forces the school to have a diversity of course that the kids have.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've seen that transition from the UK government, and that's 20 years ago. Yes,
Yeah,
that's way behind. But our teachers are the ones coming into UK to build that. So we know we have the talent.
exactly, exactly. All right, we'll leave it at that.
Let's
I
leave
hope
it at that.
yeah, yeah.
When you have a
Everybody.
chance, let's have a guest. Let's go further into this. Bring in Favor. Let me talk it through with Favor. Get someone from the ministry. Let's talk about this one. Let's pick it up
Yeah, we'll
again.
try. Yeah, yeah. Have a great year,
Perhaps
everybody.
they can work with us and we can help them draft a proper
Ex-
strategy.
Well, yeah, yeah,
We'll build a
that's
task force for them.
we'll see, Marco. We'll see. Have a great week, everybody. We wish you all the best, especially for the new school year. And we'll see you next week with another edition of EduTalk. If you need to write to us at edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. That's edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. Or just Google us, Education Solutions International. It will lead you to our website, okay, which is edusolutionsintl.org. That's edusolutionsintl.org. What good, everybody. See you next.
Like, subscribe, share.
Yes, yes. Like, subscribe, and share according to Dr. Miguel Barker. All right. Take care. Bye bye.